So hi, welcome to the channel as always. Please do remember to like and share this video, it helps out the channel a lot. And if you would like to support the channel in a different way, there are links down below to my Patreon page as well as a one-off donation link. So thank you very much to the people that do support me with that. Now, on with our regular scheduled broadcast. So we've talked lots and lots about the potential pitfalls that Brexit is going to fall into. However, as we've said before, there are going to be lots of unintentional pitfalls. Stuff, it's the black ice that you can't see that you slip on. And we are being governed into an absolute quagmire by the Tory party at the moment, with their absolute inability to essentially not look beyond 6 months. But that's the problem that we are definitely in. And this is going to be one of those problems because we have said businesses will move to Europe, such as AstraZeneca, probably one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. It's Swedish, I think it is Swedish. It's yeah, it's one of the Nordic countries, but I think it's Swedish. A really big pharmaceutical concern, has lots of business interests here. After Brexit, however, not so much, and this is going to be a really blow to the UK pharmaceutical industry when AstraZeneca goes, because it's going to go. It's got no reason to stay in the UK after Brexit. So this comes from the Yorkshire Bylines, and it's AstraZeneca and Brexit, the hardest pill to swallow. It should not be welcome news that the COVID-19 vaccine being developed by Oxford University and AstraZeneca has been shown to work as planned, as reported by Sky News last Thursday. But in light of Brexit, it is somewhat bittersweet. On the 16th of October, Richard Torburton, the Chief Executive and Associate of British Pharmaceutical Industries, issued a stark reminder of how serious a no-deal exit from the EU could be. He said, "No deal is not in the interest of patients, the pharmaceutical industry, or the economies of the UK and the EU. As a long window of opportunity remains, negotiators must keep talking and agree on a comprehensive deal. Our members are preparing for the end of the transition period at the same time as the coronavirus cases rise across Europe, and this should be enough to focus minds." We've said this before. One of the biggest and most group of allies that we need to go after is British businesses and industries, because they are going to be constantly saying, why have we left the European Union? This is affecting our business in so many unpositive ways. And trust me, it's going to be very, very hard for the Conservatives to ignore these calls. And trust me, those calls will start coming very quickly next year. But it'll be these calls that will, even the Conservatives will have to concede that we will have to start to look at some way of going back into Europe, even being in the single market or the customs union. And as I've said before many times on this channel, we will just gradually slide back in. So one example of how disturbing a no-deal Brexit would look is to look at AstraZeneca, the British-Swedish pharmaceutical giant. Voted one of the top science employers worldwide in the prestigious Science 2019 Top Employers Survey, they employ over 6,000 staff across five sites in the UK and support another around 35,000 jobs. They also account for 1% of the UK's gross domestic product. So AstraZeneca has a huge plant in Macclesfield, to the south of Manchester. As of March last year, the site employed around 3,000 people in a variety of operations, including IT and science, as well as a manufacturing arm, which accounts for around 900 workers. Sorry, I was going to say 9,000 then. No, 900. So, 18 months ago, reports emerged that jobs were going at the Macclesfield site, with much more speculation around the comments made by the non-executive chairperson, Leif Johansson, about Brexit. According to Cheshire Live, It was widely reported that Johnson had said that the company would not invest in its British operations while Brexit uncertainty continues. Part of the company's nervousness is down to regulations. To protect public health and ensure the availability of products to the highest standards, all machines must be authorized before they can be placed on the market in the EU. The European medical regulatory system is based on a network of around 50 regulatory authorities from 31 EEA countries and 28 EU member states plus Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway, the European Commission and the EMA, that's the European Medicines Agency. In the UK, and the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulation Agencies, or MHR, the executive agency of the DHS, provides this marketing authorization. Up until now, drugs approved by MHR were accepted across the EU, but during the transition period, over 370 of these centrally authorized products have now been transferred to authorities in other EU states, plus Iceland and Norway. After January, MHR market authorizations will only apply to the UK, and new drugs will need to be gain separate EU approval. No trade deal will avoid such costly duplication. The EU does not automatically accept drugs approved by third countries. This has also led to fears that new treatments will be delayed. Global drug markets are expected to favour the larger EU market first, since it represents around 25% of the world's sales compared to the UK's 3%. Switzerland, which already enjoys a very close relationship with the EU and is a full member of the EMA, which grants access to new medicines on average of 175 days later than the EU. In Australia and Canada, products come to market up to 12 months later. But new drugs approvals are only just part of the highly regulated and complex European pharmaceutical business. Every batch of human medicine that is sold in the EU needs to be tested in the EU and released by a qualified person. To continue batch testing in UK laboratories with certification accepted by the EU, an arrangement with the EMA is required. This would also be in the form of a mutual recognition agreement with the EU, something that they have in place for other third countries, including the USA, Australia, Canada, Israel, Japan, and New Zealand. If a trade deal is agreed, and it is probable the UK will also even agree to the MRA. Such third country agreements also allow for cooperation that includes the sharing of confidential information, mutual recognition of goods manufacturing practice, standards, and the waiving of batch testing. They may also cover clinical trials, pharmaceutical surveillance, and regarding to drug safety and the monitoring of prevention of adverse side effects. But establishing a comprehensive MRA to cover the goods manufacturing practice, inspection batch, and certification of pharmaceuticals and vaccine is not something that can happen overnight. It is also not something that can be negotiated separately. While the UK and the EU are discussing a free trade deal, this article by UK in a Changing Europe points out that a combination of negotiating directive, rules legally produced from the EU from the negotiating sector of sector-specific agreements, while the negotiating of the overreaching tariffs agreement continues. The EU has been constant about the principle from the start of the Brexit process, despite British efforts to disrupt it. For example, Theresa May's government fought for a separate agreement for financial services, but these efforts were unsuccessful, the report authors say. In other words, however compelling the argument is for special treatment within the sector, and during a global pandemic, the arguments are very persuasive. But you can't change the procedural requirements, nor can you change the science. A testing machine is not testing machinery is not exactly precise science. Precision engineering specialist equipment is required to enable physical testing, such as viscosity, specific gravity, and particulate size. Chemical testing, such as drug assays, level of impurities and preservative assays, and microbiological testing and dimensional testing are also needed. For example, complex drugs such as Zoldac, taken by people undergoing treatment for prostate cancer, batch testing can end up costing more than the manufacturing process takes in the first place. AstraZeneca has built a 6.8 billion industry in the UK, doing just that. Globally, the competing record is about 23 billion sales in just 2019. But with the threat of no deal still hanging in the air, they have very difficult business decisions to make. The UK has said that in the event of the no deal, it will still accept EU tested medicine. They have to, or else people will die. But the EU won't necessarily be in the mood to accept UK tested medicines. The urgency of an agreement on mutual recognition has intensified as demands for developing new medicines and vaccines to fight the pandemic grow. Speaking to The Independent last Friday, the Association of British Pharmaceutical Industries Chief Executive Richard Tolbert said, "We've been calling on the government and the European Commission to absolutely make sure to get both sides prioritise patients. Let's get a mutual recognition agreement done so we can recognise each other's standards. If you don't do that, you can stockpile all you like, but all you have are the ferries. You can have all the ferries you like, and you will have introduced delays. The more things you have to get tested multiple times, which obviously cost and complexity in the supply chain that we don't want at this time." As things stand, if AstraZeneca makes the decision to continue batch testing in Macclesfield, that certification might only apply to 66 million potential customers here in the UK. But if they move batch testing to, say, the Netherlands, the whole European market of 500 million potential customers, including those in the UK, it is open to them. The larger market with lower certification costs seems like a no-brainer for the company's point of view. But it's a zero-sum game. Setting up a new testing facility in Holland or using a contract laboratory will be costly and take at least some time to set up. On the other hand, when confronted with a government whose intransigence means that the pharmaceutical sector is being hung out to dry, you could forgive AstraZeneca for upping sticks and going abroad. Of course, the big question is if they were about to deliver us the holy grail of a COVID-19 vaccine, where does that leave us? And where does this leave them? A no deal for them must seem not the only bitterest of pills, but also the hardest to swallow. And yeah, like I say, we've gone over. This isn't the first time we've covered companies like this in instances where you just look at what it means to be a European company in the EU. You have access to a market of over 500 million people. It's a no-brainer for them. It really is. They will up sticks and go, and they are not the only company who is looking at these numbers and just going, it's far better for us to be in Europe, and that will be jobs gone, and that probably won't come back. And we warned people about this multiple times, but it was all Project Fear, Project Fear. Well, welcome to Project Reality. As is always, and we always say this, when Brexit meets reality, reality always wins. And this is simple business decisions. This isn't political in any way, shape, or form. They will move for business decisions because it is cheaper for them and more cost effective to be in a market of 500 million people than it is to be in a market that has separated itself from that 500 million market of just 66 million people. Which market, if you were a business, would you want to be a part of? So, as always, thanks for watching. Like I say, down below there are links to my Patreon page. And of course, we'll see you all next time.